So Chael Sonnen just uploaded this video. I hope Daniel Cormier and Jon Jones never make up. And I have not watched the video yet, but I honestly, I'm very interested in this because I am one of those MMA fans, or one of those people in general who is kind of the opinion that people don't always need to make up. So I thought that because I was going to watch this video anyways, I wanted to react to it, and we're going to take a look at Chael's video today. That's what we're going to do. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comment section afterwards. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about Chael Sonnen, Daniel Cormier, and Jon Jones.
Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier, I am so glad that this feud is like reignited. I don't want them to make up. There's no reason for them to make up.
That's kind of where I'm at too. So many people are like, and I know I'm going to keep pausing the video here, but that's what the reaction videos are all about, right? Got to transform the content. So Chael, that's what I've always agreed with him about. Like, if you don't like somebody, a fight just won't magically make it up. You know what I mean? When there's a bunch of fighters that have beef and all of a sudden it's like completely squashed, what Jon Jones and what Daniel Cormier had was real. And I honestly think like if they did squash it, it would be fake. I think these two, like, no matter what, will forever hate each other.
It's not real and it's not sincere, right? There's no reason. So they're back at it. Daniel had called Jon Jones a bad employee.
That's what it's about. Okay. I'm going to guess that he's going to get into the text messages by Dana.
And what had happened is Dana White's text messages were seized through a court order. And within those text messages, he was discussing Jon Jones and referred to Jon as a scumbag, which in all fairness is not that bad of a word.
That's a light thing, though. Like, what came out with Dana White was, like, they were calling him a scumbag over and over again. I think they called him a punk, too, where it's like, they were really insulting to Jon. It's not like they just called him a scumbag, and I'm not saying it wasn't deserved. Like, I can't imagine having Jon Jones work for me. That must be an absolute nightmare, but they were being extremely, extremely rude, not just calling him a scumbag.
Like Jon's not going to see that and be surprised. You know, that's actually pretty low-hanging fruit for the situation they were in when Dana used that word. And Daniel, while referencing that, said, man, he was being a bad employee. It was very light what Daniel said.
And that's like, it's almost like it's common knowledge at this point, right?
It's very light what Dana said. But it bothered Jon to an extent that Jon came out and spoke about it. And Jon is basically of the stance, I fought you and I beat you twice, and you're bitter.
Now, before we continue this part, I do want to say something that I've always been fascinated by is, obviously, Jon Jones is probably one of the, or if not, like, you could make a case that Jon Jones is the toughest man to ever walk the planet. Like, he's not scared of anybody, but man, if you were to take a look at this guy's social media, it's almost like, and I hate using this word because so many people overuse it nowadays, where the dude just completely, like, you look at his Twitter and you just think, wow, this man is insecure. This man is so successful in the UFC. He's amazing at what he does. People call him the greatest of all time. Actually, that word gets thrown around a lot, but Jon Jones is actually considered among most people to be the greatest of all time. And this guy, I swear to God, I could tweet to Jon Jones and then he'll reply to me just like defending his point. He'll get all butthurt about it. Like, this dude is easy to piss off, man. It's crazy.
I tried to bury it and I tried to move on. That's what the fight was, that's what the resolution was, and that's what me saying nice things about you were, but you're not accepting it because you're bitter. Jon could be right. Like, that doesn't sound off.
And yeah, Cormier has, if you listen to anything Cormier says, Cormier is definitely not over it. But to be honest with you, I don't know if, it'd be tough because I've never been put in a situation like that, but I don't know if I would be able to get over it. Like, I hate this man so much, and he beat me twice. Like, I don't know if I'd be able to ever be able to get over that, but he does make snarky comments here and there, but Jon Jones does as well.
What Daniel said doesn't sound wrong, and what Jon said doesn't sound wrong. I'm just glad that we're back to this point. I mean, I must tell you. And what could be done with Jon Jones? For me, I would have just had so much fun. I would have just loved to have been in that spot.
You mean, I would imagine he means like at the time when Chael and Jon fought, because their beef was hilarious and Chael was so good at trolling him.
And the steroid angle with Jon is a very sore subject. And that also stems from a different psychology. Like the steroid that Jon popped for, just so you understand, all this picogram, it's something called trenbolone. I am very confident in telling you guys that Jon did not knowingly and or willfully take Trenbolone.
Okay, but what about anything else that he's taken, man? Like that, I will. Nobody will ever convince me that Jon Jones is clean and just had a tainted supplement. I don't care. The dude is a cheater. The way he fights, he cheats. Like I wholeheartedly believe the guy's on the juice, no matter what.
That he did not seek out Trenbolone. That he was not told by his advisors to get or use Trenbolone. I'm as confident that Jon, and with all the connections that he would have to the world and underworld of steroid use, could not even find Trenbolone.
Okay, what about everything else?
I mean, you would have to go to a museum to get this stuff. Not to mention, it is not one of the great ones.
That's tough because I would imagine that somebody in Jon Jones's position could get a hold of something like that, right? But then again, like I'm sitting here and I probably sound very arrogant from my position because Chael is in that world as well. So I don't know if I really can speak on that, but it seems like from an outside perspective, from like somebody in my position, I would think that Jon Jones would absolutely have those connections. So I don't know what to think.
It was at a time until about 1983. So the reason I say that is when Jon starts looking around going, hey, I never took that. I never meant to take that. I don't know where this came from. I believe he's telling the truth.
I don't at all. Do you guys remember that press conference where Dana literally Dana was covering for him so bad when he popped her? He's like, so what was in my system was if you take a pinch of salt and drop it in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And Jon was like so confident in saying that. And you know what the crazy thing is? His fans were eating it up, man. Like, and he's like, pictograms, like he was playing so stupid. And when somebody else at the press conference, one of my favorite MMA moments in history, by the way, when somebody at that press conference asked about like Jon failing the test or something along those lines, right? Jon goes, here, maybe I can help you with that. And Dana just goes, no, you can't. It's just so funny. Like, he popped, man. He doing it on purpose. And the UFC was always covering for him.
The part that he's leaving out is he meant to take a banned substance, just not that one.
Oh, that's what I was talking about earlier. I should have let the video play a couple more seconds.
He took a banned substance that was tainted with this banned substance. So...
Okay, maybe I misunderstood Chael. So he does think that Jon Jones purposely cheated, okay? Could you imagine how unlucky that would be?
And I tell you that just from being in that world and listening and watching the body language, that's my determination. I don't have the ability to prove it, but Jon has let all of that go, and he's only clung to the thing that he's been accused of, which is taking Trenbolone, and he's coming out and openly telling you, I never did that.
Yeah.
I got a picogram of this stuff, and I never even meant to take it in the first place. I think he's telling the truth on that part.
Okay, now that makes a little bit more sense. I mean, it's possible. I would honestly, again, like Chael's in that world more than anybody watching this video, right? So I kind of trust his opinion on that.
If you're willing to ignore how we got the Trenbolone in the system and just look at it for those specific words, I think he's accurate.
And that's been the history of Jon Jones taking steroids. It's just like all these little loopholes, or it's like if I'm talking about a desk here, Jon Jones will start talking about a monitor on my screen. Like, you know, it's wild to me. I could be talking about like, hey, nice day outside, and then Jon Jones will be like, oh yeah, so I went to go get water. Like, it's just he moves the goalposts so much when it's time to talk about him cheating.
Like, I would believe that he could pass a lie detector's test with that statement. Okay. So, it's a sore subject, right? It's a really hard and sore subject. So when Daniel brings up, you think that we've buried the hatchet because we fought, but you fought dirty and cheated. Mm-hmm. Us doing the fight, reaching resolution, the belt going with you, the victory going with you, all the memories, all the record books, everything going with you, doesn't end things the way that it should.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by that personally. Like, how good would Jon Jones be if he wasn't sauced up? But then again, especially at the time where Jon Jones was kind of dominating things, you could argue that most fighters were on things, right?
It starts the problem because you stole it from me. You cheated. And it's one of these things, it's just hard for them to get around. And I appreciate when they don't pretend that they have got around it.
I appreciate that as well, I was going to say. But something that I always feel bad about Daniel for, and people are always quick to call Daniel so bitter. But if Daniel Cormier actually fought a Jon Jones that wasn't sauced up because clearly Daniel Cormier wasn't on anything, right? One of the few fighters. And he won, which is honestly, I could see him winning that fight. He would have gone down as the greatest of all time. Period. Went up, beat Stipe. Maybe he would retire. Even if he lost to Stipe, that's him at his old age, people would consider him to be the greatest of all time. He would have been undefeated until his last fight, and that's when he was old.
So, I would love for Jon. I just think there's such an opportunity. There's a new testing agency. USADA's gone. I don't know what the new testing agency's called. But this new agency, and I think it's one. I thought it was one something. I'm going to call it one just for now. We got to call, so I'm going to call it one. There is such an opportunity for Jon to ask questions on social media about one. Hey, does one also test 24/7? Question mark.
Could you imagine? You know what I can see Jon doing if he were to dive into that? Where it's like, I can see Jon saying something along the lines like, well, one, are you going to do a good job in keeping all these athletes clean? Because I am sick. I am personally sick and tired of fighting against people who are cheating. I can so see Jon going down that route.
Hey, do they come on weekends? Question mark. Hey, what about holidays? Do they come on holidays, or are holidays like? And then not finish the thought, not tell anybody why he's asking, just like ask the question. Like, there's just such an opportunity to dangle that and to play with that.
Mm-hmm. He's
got a pectoral issue that's supposed to take 8 to 10 months to heal, and he could be putting out stuff like, man, this thing's healing in record time. Yeah, I accomplished more in the healing process in 2 weeks than the doctors predicted I'd have in 4 months. Right?
Yeah, you know what? I've never, and I know this isn't like an original thought, but I've always been of the opinion that Jon Jones should have just dove into full heal because, like, it's not working because nobody knows, especially nowadays. It worked like the beginning of his career. It worked when he was first getting into all this controversy, but everybody knows what Jon Jones is like now. The best thing he could do is just dive full heal and just, like, tease the fact of everybody that he's cheating.
Right, which would, again, be an innuendo that he's taken a banned substance that would heal, that a growth hormone, a testosterone booster, things like that would heal. It would just be very interesting. I just think it would be fun. Mm-hmm. And every time I have seen Jon steer into anything like that, it has worked tremendously. Daniel called Jon out for cocaine. And this shamed Jon. Oh, he was so embarrassed. He was so embarrassed when they did it. Daniel called him out. And Jon responded and said, yes, I was coked up and I still beat your ass. And it was great. You should have heard this crowd.
Yep, exactly. That was one of the best. That moment is still replayed constantly. And that's just for the first time that he was diving into heel mode.
Crazy. Daniel came out again, same press conference, and he says to the audience, you're all cheering him. He told you he hasn't taken cocaine in 11 months. You were cheering him. I haven't taken cocaine in the 40 years I've been alive. Where's my applause? They booed Daniel.
Yeah. That I felt so, like, I'm a huge DC fan. I was back in the day before it was cool to like Daniel Cormier, right? I felt so bad for him in that moment. And I was like, oh my God. But I understand why that happened. I understood why everybody was booing Daniel Cormier. It's just unfortunately how it works, right? Daniel just came off as bitter. It's sad.
They booed Daniel and they cheered Jon. And nobody was more surprised than Daniel and Jon. Daniel said it thinking he was going to win the crowd over. He was stunned when they booed him. Jon thought, oh, I just lost the audience.
Could you imagine being Daniel in those situations where he's going up against somebody who's actually like such a bad person and the crowd's constantly just booing you and cheering for him? Like, I couldn't believe it at the time. It made sense as things progressed, right? Daniel started coming off as more and more bitter, but like, it's so funny to me how that works.
I'm the dirtbag junkie sitting up here. Now the crowd loved him. They loved him for it. And it was a very interesting thing, and I just suggest for you that Jon could be having so much fun right now. I'm not convinced that Jon owes anybody an apology. I am convinced he took banned substances. I am convinced that he had trembled on accident. I am convinced that he took the big three: testosterone, growth hormone, and EPO. I am fully convinced of it.
And what else?
I'm not convinced he needs to say sorry. I don't know if Jon's entire record, or I apologize, yeah, of Jon Jones' entire record, I'm not sure he's fought more than 3 guys that weren't on that same diet.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, when Jon Jones was dominating, when he was the long-reigning champion, it seemed like everybody was on something. And to the UFC fighters like Chael, it's common knowledge.
I mean, that's the other piece of the story, and Jon never brings that up, right? We never do that. We all have a code amongst ourselves. One thing is we all know fellow users. Every user knows the other users. We all know our own. but we won't out somebody ever until he fails the test. I don't know why, by the way. I don't know why it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, that's really tough because, yeah, it makes sense why you wouldn't want to out anybody, but it's interesting, like, how they all know, because then how do you keep it from the people who don't know? Maybe it's just looking at them, but I'm like, I would imagine, like, conversations have to come up in these gyms and stuff.
But that's one thing that Jon has never mentioned. Jon was on the diet, that's true, but if you go through Jon's entire record, he only faced 3 guys that were on that exact same diet.
Who would it be? It would be Cormier for sure. Cormier, absolutely. I don't really know who else. I'd have to really think about it. Maybe Gustafsson? I don't know, but Gustafsson had a pretty hard fall off. I don't know. That's really, really tough. Maybe Anthony Smith.
Now,
tell me, Chael.
You might see some character flaws within the stance that I just took. That would be fair by you. But I am sharing, as one that knows one, I'm not sure that Jon needs to say sorry. And Jon and Daniel, damn sure, for my liking, they damn sure don't need to make up.
That's honestly a really interesting topic. And I really wanted to watch this video. It would be like, again, this is a completely authentic reaction because I love when fighters don't make up. Like, it's nice sometimes when fighters show respect and stuff afterwards, but when you have a beef that's so real between somebody like Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier, I don't know, it just kind of bugs me that both of them are faking it, just be respectful in the cage. And I am like a huge Jon Jones hater, but it almost makes me like, I don't want to say gain respect because, again, I don't respect that guy. But when he's like doing this after beating Daniel Cormier, he's like, I do not like DC. This is why I'm being classless. Like, it was like a nice breath of fresh air. You don't see that too much. And that's the reason why I love Khabib. Like, you ask him if you're going to shake Conor McGregor's hand afterwards. He goes, no, never. Like, I love it. And then he stayed true to it. After the fight, he's still yapping at him. He's still hopping over the cage, fighting his entire team, still hates him. Like, I don't understand why everybody has to like put on this front. And honestly, if you're a UFC fighter, you're looking for clout, you want to get paid more, you want the fans to pay attention to you, sticking with your beef is the best way to go. Because especially if you just have a regular fight, what about like another fight, a rematch, or maybe even a trilogy down the road? What if you guys meet each other down the road too? I think it's best that way. But I like it when fighters are real like that. And take a look at Sean Strickland, for example. Why everybody likes that guy right now? Because he's so real. He says exactly what is on his mind. He doesn't change for anybody. He doesn't put on the fake respect thing. If he likes you, he likes you. If he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you. That's why fans are really liking him. That's why so many fans are so into the Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier beef. But regardless, anytime it comes up, and I'm exactly like Chael, I love it. I absolutely love it. I find it very entertaining. So I hope you enjoyed this reaction. Thank you so much for watching the video, everybody. On the screen right now, if you'd like to continue watching, check out this early UFC 299 full card breakdown and predictions video. Check it out. I'm probably the only one with that video up right now. Take care, guys.